That we can't see what they've done to us and what they want to do to us? And they really have all these, quote, liberals that want to arrest conservatives and put us in jail and shut us up and shut down websites and just all of this. It's like, wow, you really are evil. But they were never brought up with any culture or any spirit. They were set in front of television sets and brought up in peer pressure and taught to be fearful and cowardly to the point of they were so desperate and so scared they would join anything that invited them to have a seat at the table. Even if it was a seat at a banquet where they're the main dish. And they don't have souls. They're gone. They've turned themselves over to great delusion. They are just empty, shark-toothed, little piggy-eyed people that just boil around in their own delusion, and they don't even want the birthright of true consciousness and honor. It's very sad. And I just thank God every minute that we still have free will and consciousness, at least some of us. And we know this planet is a beautiful place with a lot of great history, but the thing trying to control it is not the universe and is not God, and has always tried to dominate humanity and life and has always failed in the end. And that really is the good news. They're going to fail. We're going to play the Tucker Carlson clip when we come back, then I'll get into all the 2016 news, economic news. There's a lot of it. Infowars.com. Stay with us. If you study the trajectory of the global controllers system, you realize that it's taking us into a nightmare. And every fiber of your being resist it. Then you can see on its face, prima facie, that it's bad for you and bad for your family. And I see all these trendies buying into the system, dressing like they're told, marrying like they're told, buying like they're told, and they're so desperate, they're so unhappy. They don't know why they're fulfilled. They follow what they're told, and it doesn't bring them to some type of nirvana, some type of heavenly Valhalla. Because if you're conscious and aware and dialed into history and the animating contest of liberty, you would see what a sick, broken joke it is and how we're being held back desperately by lesser men and women who, if humanity flowers, will be left so far behind they will be obsolete. That's why they claim they're the guardians of the earth, the guardians of the environment, when they're the authors of the earth's peril, the vandals of the mother. That's why they claim they're the guardians of racial equality and all these other things, when their real actions are destruction, civil war. Our CIA, run by Rothschild intelligence, beyond British intelligence, and others, openly puts dictators in power, openly puts in regimes that create the most poor possible. It's an alien force. The American Project, the new Atlantis of Sir Francis Bacon and others, was only partially realized. Only part of its booster systems launched and still took us to heights never before seen. And so you still had some of that energy, some of that spirit of innovation leading the world into the future. But America was then captured. The West was then captured and enlisted now. While we're deindustrialized, while we're dumbed down, what's left of our best, our remnant, is thrown into wars, thrown into technological advances that are siphoned off to offshore combines. While we pay the bill and get the blame. I've seen their system. I understand it. These are very, very twisted people. I mean, I look at Zuckerberg, and he is animated with hellish evil, cloaking himself in a non-threatening uniform, but those eyes say it all. He walks through a crowd of his employees, all wearing goggles, sitting there like slaves, typing, dying. And he walks a man in reality. They are entering his world. We can put that image up. They are coming into his planet, his vision. And all Zuckerberg is a frontman of In-Q-Tel and the Central Intelligence Agency. And a pump and dump. And you see Glenn Beck servile, rolling around on the ground before him like a snake. Good God. Good Lord. Deliver us from these serpents. From birth, men are told you're a man because you play football, you're a man because you play fantasy football, you're a man because you go to the sports bar and drink and act tough. No, a man is aware of what's happening on the planet and is involved and cares about their ancestors and their future progeny and is innovating and is building. That's why men are more unfulfilled than ever. So are women, because our humanity's been stolen from us. And once they sell the young people on the idea of a free lunch, once they sell the young people on the idea of just being lazy and you get ahead, caring about nobody but yourself, the truth is you don't even care about yourself then. You can't care about yourself till you care about others, till you have empathy. But to the psychopath and the sociopath, empathy is a weakness, not a transcendental doorway into perception. Look at these articles. Venezuela, this is AFP. Venezuela, where a hamburger is officially $170. That's what communism brings you. But before I go there, I want to play this Tucker Carlson clip because I mentioned it, where he's talking about this meeting with Zuckerberg. And notice the story changes from hundreds of employees of Facebook go to the Senate and say they're censoring, like China, individual users and political parties and organizations, and it's total control, and they're very concerned. And then it just turns into Glenn Beck says it's all nice and they're not. No, they're helping. Good Lord. I mean, what happens next? And it's the nakedness of it, how they parade in front of all of us and rub our faces in it. I mean, I read newspaper headlines from mainstream newspapers last Friday where it was all over the country. They were, it's a talking point. Okay, now let's test this. They say, it's now time to teach your 6th grade girls, now that boys are going to be in the showers, we're going to integrate the boys and girls rooms together, is the next phase. So girls don't be repulsed by male genitals. I mean, that sounds like a joke written in some science fiction comedy book, but it's real. And you're like, but it's so stupid. How is that our culture? Because it's just meant to make you fight over that while they're jacking your food and water with all sorts of poisons and writing 1,100-page PhD textbooks. Yeah, there it is. Girls must get rid of their discomfort at seeing male genitals in locker rooms. Charlotte Observer. They just want you to be so malfunctioning, so hamstrung, so crippled mentally that you never figure out you were given a worthless degree at college. You never figure out you were screwed over. You never figured out you were hit with chemical weapons to make you a eunuch, basically. I mean, you go out and look at the public. The elite take pleasure in this. I don't. They are walking dead. Their souls have been sucked out. They're dead. Let's go ahead and play this clip of Tucker Carlson. Go ahead.
I talk to them about the people who work there. And if everyone in your office has the same background and the same cultural assumptions, it's going to affect your news coverage. And they seem to think that was reasonable. Some of the conservatives there asked tough questions. Others sucked up, basically.
Like who?
you know, just well-known talk show host who you think would be asking tough questions, but it said things like, you're such an innovator, you're such an impressive guy.
No, who said that?
Come on, you know, you can imagine. But the point is, they are conducting an investigation. They don't want to be seen as biased. Of course, their subjective judgments.
So are they going to change anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to try to move as much as they can over to the algorithm and take the human element out to the extent possible. But I think, you know, in the end, there's always going to be subjective judgment. Did he admit to it? Because the curators came out and said... No, they did not admit that intentional bias occurred. They did admit that Silicon Valley is very liberal, and the people who work there, by definition, are probably mostly liberal. And I said, well, why don't you hire a bunch of Mormons? You know, like, make it... bring people in with a different cultural background, and you will get a greater diversity of views, and you'll make wiser decisions. And they said, no, it's a pretty good idea. I don't know if they'll do it.
Right, they never thought of that. And we should have other people than liberals there. The other thing, the big story is these curators were told, they said they were told to rip out some of these stories.
That's enough.
Right.
And he says more in articles he did. They're up on drudgereport.com, Infowars.com, you name it. But listen, this is how they whitewash total censorship coming into play. They shut your site down. They ban it the third time when they say, don't link even to a Washington Post article about how we're censoring or we're going to take you down. And you just sit there like we're in Communist China and go, yes, I'll stop. Sorry, don't ban me off here. When you are what make Facebook what it is. It's incredible. And they just sell it like, oh, it's just a new thing, like the NSA spying or coming after our guns or whatever it is. Infowars.com is where the resistance to tyranny begins. I'm Alex Jones, second hour coming up. We got 50% off running until the end of the night on Hillary for President shirts, by the way. We are in FEMA Region 6, where I broadcast from. We are already an occupied country by the globalists. They're trying to mop up resistance, break up the families, shut off our industry, shut off our power plants, and make us dependent. And then they write textbooks admitting that. And we write articles about those textbooks. We make films. That's why so much of what we talked about has now come true. By the way, we're not happy when it comes true. We're trying to say, here's their plan. They've gotten so much of this already done. You don't want to go here, 80% population reduction. Bare minimum. That the public number is 80%. Deeper white paper is 90%. And then we have intel from higher up that it goes up to like 99%. And I've had the different genetic engineers threaten us, send us letters, have lawyers call us. Some of the acolytes of a man who's pledged himself to Lucifer on the UT website. It's in my film Endgame. The UT professor that came out and said he wants airborne Ebola to be released to kill 90% of the world's population, Mr. Pianka. And then I had his students threaten me. And then some of them sent me emails and said, don't show me in that photo with him and things like that. And I went and looked them up, and they were graduated 5 years ago, 5 years before that, and they were involved in BioShield, bioweapons development, sending us emails, and their lawyers sending us letters. This is 10 years ago, 9 years ago, saying Dr. Pianka is too liberal, only wanting 90%. The earth will be free once the human parasite is eradicated. Humanity must be expunged. We're reading that letter on air. And I went to the bioweapon site, disguised as a biodefense system. $100 billion the last 15 years spent on it publicly. And she was in that white lab coat with all those big centrifuges and machines behind her. And she had a crazed look in her eye, and I knew that look. Selling the baby parts. Now they got articles every day about the chimeras, the part human, part animal creatures that don't have any rights that they won't show us yet. They're soon going to start showing them on the news. And they'll have trendies on MTV make fun of the horrible mutants. But then they'll cut to a commercial saying, brought to you by this hair care product that's testing free on bunnies. It's all part of sick jokes. There's human chimeras in miserable pain in tanks. Part human, part fish, you name it, gulping, begging. I've interviewed those genetic engineers that have witnessed it. But it's okay, we're nice to the bunnies. And you want me to sign on to that? No, thank you.